The whole time I'm talking. Frickin' mic's muted. Sorry. So, today's a day, you know. It figures. Yet again, I start and I messed up. Just one little thing. But, I've got a couple of videos. Not sure if y'all have seen them. It is Tucker's number 3 and number 4 video. He just dropped one. So, let's see how this works. If it works. Yes, it works. Good. All right.
The Biden administration arrested Donald Trump this afternoon. They had him arraigned and fingerprinted in a Miami courthouse, like the accused felon he now technically is. These were the first steps in a process that is designed to put Donald Trump behind bars for the rest of his life. Cable news carried every moment of it live. It's unprecedented, they told us, with what looked like shock. But they weren't shocked. They knew this was coming. Everyone who's paid attention knew it was. True. What just happened was always going to happen. It's been inevitable since February 16th, 2016. That's the day Donald Trump made a blood enemy of the largest and most powerful organization in human history, which would be the federal government. Despite what you may remember, it wasn't anything that Trump had said about immigration or trade with China or rapists from Mexico. Those are the stories that dominated the headlines that year. Trump's a racist, they screamed. Stop him! But inside Washington, that was just noise. None of it really rated. Identity politics doesn't mean much to permanent Washington. What matters, then and now, is foreign policy.
I like that.
The invasion.
I like that. Permanent Washington.
Then, on Tuesday afternoon, the Biden administration had Donald Trump arrested. It was a pretty big, was immediate. Inside Fox, the women who run the network panicked. First, they scolded the producer who put the banner on the screen. Less than 24 hours after that.
One. Sorry, you guys. Let's get on the correct one. Unbelievable. All right. Let's get on the correct one now.
A moment of it live. It's unprecedented, they told us, with what looked like shock. But they weren't shocked. They knew this was coming. Everyone who's paid attention knew it was. What just happened was always going to happen. It's been inevitable since February 16th, 2016. That's the day Donald Trump made a blood enemy of the largest and most powerful organization in human history, which would be the federal government. Despite what you may remember, it wasn't anything that Trump had said about immigration or trade with China or rapists from Mexico.
This is from, I believe it's the very first debate.
The stories that dominated the headlines that year. Trump's a racist, they screamed. Stop him! But inside Washington, that was just noise. None of it really rated. Identity politics doesn't mean much to permanent Washington. What matters, then and now, is foreign policy. The invasions and occupations and proxy wars. The decisions that determine which global populations will thrive and which will die. The policies that come with trillion-dollar price tags. The ones that, over time, have made the counties around D.C. the richest suburbs in the world. In Washington, that's what actually matters. And it's obvious when you look carefully. When there's a debate about anything else, for example, the debt ceiling, both sides take their assigned positions and they start yelling. But when Congress decides to start a war, no matter how foolish or counterproductive or obviously disconnected from America's core interests that war may be, when that happens, the leaders of both parties automatically jump behind it like circus clowns. And then they stay there, sometimes for decades. They defend that war relentlessly against all evidence until somebody finally rings the all clear bell and they can begin to admit that actually, maybe it wasn't such a great idea. We meant well, but it just didn't work.
You know, like what just happened. Quite a few things.
Work out. The good news is we've learned a lot of important lessons. In the end, they usually do say something like that. but only after emotions have cooled and the damning details have begun to fade from collective memory. It's an apology that's not actually an apology, much less repentance,
Never
and
is.
it's years too late to matter in any case. But until then, that's all you're getting. Until then, no dissent is allowed. That's the first rule of Washington. But somehow Trump didn't bother to follow it.
Hey, Craig. Hey, Queenie. What's up?
He is from out of town, so maybe he didn't know it
Good
was
to
a
see you
rule.
guys.
Maybe he just didn't care. Either way, 7.5 years later, we can point to the precise moment that permanent Washington decided to send Donald Trump to prison. Here it is. It's from the Republican candidates debate in Greenville, South Carolina.
We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East. They lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none.
watched
There
this.
were no weapons of mass
Okay.
destruction.
I watched this and I freaking stood up and cheered at the television. It was freaking awesome.
Right.
We should never have been in Iraq, Trump said. We destabilized the Middle East. Now, by the time Trump said that, a lot of Republican primary voters were starting to reach the same conclusion. How could they not? But it was the next line that doomed Trump to today's arrest. They lied, he said. There weren't
Hey, Chill Rock. Thanks for popping over, man. I don't know if you saw me. I popped over into yours first before I started mine.
no weapons of mass destruction, and
Drop
they
my
knew there were none.
Papa!
Now, when he said that, a few in the crowd booed. Most just sat there in silence, stunned. Can he say that? Well, he said it anyway. And by saying that, he sealed his fate. That was the one thing you were not allowed to say, because it implicated too many people on both sides, which on this topic is really just one side. Hillary Clinton was guilty.
You know, the Omni Party. The one party. That's... Ugh.
Of it, but so was Paul Ryan. All of them were guilty. They all knew, they all lied. And to a person, they hated Donald Trump for exposing them. After that, it was pretty clear that even if he did get elected president, Trump was going to have a very hard time controlling the federal government he was supposed to be in charge of.
See, now, some of the stuff that he's going to say coming up, I noticed, but I thought, nah, I'm just seeing something that's not there. I didn't believe myself. But when I watched this, and he said what he says coming up, wow.
Most of permanent Washington decided that thwarting Trump was the single most important mission in their lives. Everything depended on it. Many of them said so
Shiloh!
publicly. But others didn't say so publicly. In fact, the stealthier ones took another path.
Love
They
you
ran
guys.
toward Trump, not away from him. They sucked up to him. They ingratiated themselves with the man they intuitively understood was susceptible to flattery, which Trump is. And they did this in order to subvert his new administration from the inside. There were a number of these, and you could spot them immediately. They were flatterers. Invariably, the ones who flattered Trump the most hated him the most and disagreed the most strongly with his views. You saw them in the hallways of the White House and at press conferences. They were there slobbering over their boss with elaborate self-abasement, as if they were addressing a monarch or a god. It was a scene from the Ottoman court. It was filthy and decadent, and it was false. Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, Mike Pompeo, Lindsey Graham in the
Drop
Congress.
them names.
They all called Trump a visionary genius up until the moment he lost power. And then they unsheathed their real agenda, as always the neocon war agenda, and they piled on with maximum force. Here's Mike Pompeo, for example, on Fox News this
Check
morning.
this out.
President Trump had classified documents where he shouldn't have had them, and then when given the opportunity to return them, he chose not to do that for whatever reason. When somebody identifies that, you got to turn them in. And so
Look,
that's
look. Nope. Hold on. Look at. Pence has got tape through his name. I didn't notice this.
shouldn't have had them.
It's awesome.
And then when given the opportunity to return them, he chose not to do that for whatever reason. When somebody identifies that, you got to turn them in. And so that's
Shut
inconsistent with protecting America's soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. And if the allegations are true, some of these were pretty.
If this jackass cared about protecting soldiers, airmen, Marines, Navy, he's full of shit. This is the one that I was surprised after Donald Trump was out of office when he flipped and he was, he flip-flopped and he was saying he He was a really, really, really good shit talker. He was really good. I was fooled.
Pretty serious, important documents, and so that's wrong.
May future historians hoping to unlock the mysteries of late Empire Washington study that clip, because it will reveal everything. That very same Mike Pompeo, the one who...
You too. That's great. Queenie and Papa sharing a brain for a second there.
Late Empire Washington, study that clip, because it will reveal everything. Yep. That very same Mike Pompeo, the one who's sneering at Donald Trump on TV this morning, that guy served Donald Trump as both CIA director and as Secretary of State. Those are the two most powerful jobs in the federal government.
Didn't see through
And
it.
as he worked in those jobs, Pompeo promised, in fact, he swore to support the president's agenda. Why? Because that's the way a democracy works. You vote for a candidate in the belief that his appointees will carry out the policies that you voted for.
Exactly.
It's not about the president, it's about you, the voter. But Pompeo didn't do that. He didn't even try to do that. In fact, he undermined Trump's often stated commitment to peace and non-intervention abroad at every turn. His every waking hour was devoted to fomenting war in some faraway foreign country or other. Iran, Syria, Russia, North Korea, the list goes on.
It does.
But rather than telling Trump that he disagreed with his ideas, as a man would, Pompeo toadied up to Trump, a man he despised, in the oiliest, most over-the-top way imaginable.
Hold
Ask
on.
anyone who...
I just got rolled back and hear that again, because, yeah, this is a man that is not letting anybody shut him up. And I am so glad that he did this. The whole Tucker on Twitter thing. Excuse me, sorry.
Russia, North Korea, the list goes on. But rather than telling Trump that he disagreed with his ideas, as a man would, Pompeo toadied up to Trump, a man he despised, in the oiliest, most over-the-top way imaginable. Ask anyone who worked in that White House at the time. Who is the appointee most likely to tell Donald Trump on a daily basis that he was handsome, virile, sleek, and powerful? Mike Pompeo. That will be the consensus
Drive
answer.
safe, Craig.
Those of us who saw firsthand Pompeo's relentless kowtowing will never forget it. It was indelibly repulsive. No one with self-respect could do something like that. But Mike Pompeo did it effortlessly, with relish and verve. Now, this same person is telling Fox News viewers that he fears for the safety of our military, our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, in the approved phrase. Because,
yeah, like I said, bullshit. Just saying.
Donald Trump took some classified documents home and didn't immediately return them to the National Archives? What a lie that is. Mike Pompeo knows that's a lie. He spent his entire life in Washington. Washington is a city where internal memos about Labor Day are classified because everything is classified. Your government has classified more than 1 billion federal documents, most of them boring and pointless and a danger to no one, and locked them away in secret where you can't see them because you may be an American citizen, but not really, and therefore you don't have the necessary clearances to know what's going on. And by the way, none of this is done in order to make America safer, any more than COVID restrictions were designed to keep you healthy. No, it's a caste system. That's the point. And you're the untouchable in this hierarchy.
Sorry.
Mike Pompeo knows that.
Day.
Everybody who works in Washington knows that. How many secret documents do you think Dick Cheney took home with him while he was running the Iraq War? How many did his wife read? She never had a clearance. We'll never know the answer because there is no chance Dick Cheney will ever be investigated or his staffers will be told to wear wires in his presence. He will never be indicted for this. Of course not. Dick Cheney is a neocon. Donald Trump is not. Dick Cheney supports war with Russia. Trump does not. That's the difference. The rest is just a distraction. The prosecution of Donald Trump is transparently political. He's literally Joe Biden's main political opponent. He's polling over 60% among Republican voters right now. So Joe Biden is doing what no president has ever dared to do. He's using law enforcement to lock up his chief rival. That's happening right now. Anyone who denies it's happening is lying to you. But actually, it's worse than that. Trump's prosecution isn't just political, it's ideological.
Would you quit?
Nobody with Trump's views is allowed to have power in this country. Criticize our wars and you're disqualified. If you keep it up, we'll send you to prison.
Come here.
That's the message Washington is sending. Not just the Democratic Party is sending, but both parties are sending.
Oh, now
Like so many Republicans, for example, the supposedly conservative governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, spent yesterday totally ignoring the destruction of the American justice system. Instead, he signed a highly important bill called the Crown Act, which, according to the celebratory tweet Abbott sent commemorating it, will, quote, prohibit discrimination based on textures and hairstyles historically associated with race. In other words, in Texas, cornrows are now protected by law. Having unapproved views about Ukraine is not. That's fine with most elected Republicans.
Hear this
they find Trump tiresome and embarrassing. Their donors hate him. They will not be sad if he dies in jail. But what about voters? What are they learning from this spectacle? Well, mostly they're learning that they have no power at all because nobody cares about them. But they already knew that. Unlike so many of our elected leaders, they have been to America recently. They know what it looks like. Have you seen it? If you've got a few days this summer, find out. Take a road trip and see for yourself. Drive 500 miles in any direction and then come home. How are things looking? Well, they should look great. The federal government spent $6.5 trillion last year. That's more than any government has ever spent, ever. So at the very least, you would expect pristine public roads. Oh, no. That's not what you see when you drive around this country. There are potholes and Jersey barriers everywhere. Looks like Tegucigalpa before the Chinese decided to rebuild the infrastructure of Honduras. We don't have China buying our roads.
I know, Papa,
so
right?
They're falling apart. You think the people you would pass on your road trip would look happy and prosperous. Again, this is a very rich country. But a lot of them don't. Quite a few appear to be strung out on drugs. You see them shuffling by shuttered storefronts in small towns. And you wonder, as you see all of this, where did all the money go? It's certainly not here. Well, it's in Washington. It's in Fairfax and Loudoun counties, and in leafy, perfectly manicured Northwest D.C. And of course, a huge chunk of it went to Ukraine, to Zelensky and his friends. Not because you voted for that. You didn't vote to give it to them. You never would. But because Joe Biden and his many allies, from Chuck Schumer to Mitch McConnell to Paul Ryan and every single news anchor on all of television, all of them believe that Ukraine, its borders, its future, its infrastructure are all more important than the town that you live in. They sincerely think that, and it's obvious. Everyone in power thinks that, except for Donald Trump. Whatever else you say about him, Trump is the one guy with an actual shot at becoming president who dissents from Washington's long-standing pointless war agenda. And for that one fact, they're trying to take Trump out before you can vote for him.
Facts.
And that should upset you more than anything that's happened in American politics.
Of everything he said, that's the biggest thing out of everything. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. I think we're safe. Shit. Did I jinx it? Did I jinx it? Seriously? Get your butt over here. Don't you start barking. Sorry, you guys. Mr. Duke, the elderly, throwing his weight around over here.
They're trying to take Trump out before you can vote for him.
Yep.
And that should upset you more than anything that's happened in American politics in your lifetime. Even if you don't plan to vote for Donald Trump, even if you would die before voting for Donald Trump, which is your right, and a lot of good people feel that way, even still, the destruction of our democracy, which is the right of voters to support any candidate they want, even candidates who don't want war with Russia, the destruction of that should keep you up at night. Yes, Donald Trump is a flawed man, but his sins are minor compared to those of his persecutors. In this life, we don't get to choose our martyrs. We can only choose our principles, and America's are at stake.
Younger people say the news is full of lies. And Kennedy's
Crazy shit, huh? Insane. Sorry, I'm trying not to clear my throat with the... Hey, who's hitting the bells? Not now! So, everything that... Ugh. Are you serious, Shiloh? Hold on, I want to make sure I'm not... I want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. Here in Idaho, they took the local VA housing building expelled the VAs, the veterans, and now it's a Ukrainian immigrant facility? Are you serious? Is there somewhere I can find that so we can look? Let's see. All it keeps coming up is frickin' that's just unfriggin' believable. That is unbelievable. Well, wait. I want to say it's unbelievable, but you know what? Let me see if I can find it. I can't find it. Let's see if I'm gonna... VA credit program? What the hell does that mean? Alright, so I've got facilities in Idaho. Peace, chill rock, enjoy. Enjoy work, getting them bucks. I'll see you on your next one. Canyon County. I'm not finding it. I was actually trying to find like facilities, but this is something I'm gonna look up. See if you can pop me some more information, and I'll see if I can find it. But I don't know how many of you have watched his he dropped episode 4 today. He's been usually doing, on Tuesdays, he drops one, between 13 and 15 minutes. And then next Tuesday. But today, I mean, how could he not comment on what they're doing to Donald Trump?
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson.
Well, at least I caught it.
On Tuesday afternoon, the Biden administration had Donald Trump arrested. It was a pretty big news story. You may have seen it. Mm-hmm. Just before 9 p.m. that night, as part of its coverage, Fox News ran 2 live video feeds next to one another.
You guys, look at the bottom. Look. $27 this was up there. 27 seconds. I wish I had seen it. I wish I had seen it, because holy crap, tell me that's not friggin' epic. Seriously. Freaking awesome.
On the right, Donald Trump addressed his supporters in New Jersey. On the left, Joe Biden spoke at an event for the Secretary General of NATO in Washington. Beneath those videos at the bottom of the screen, Fox's banner read this way, quote, "Wannabe dictator speaks at the White House after having his political rival arrested." Those words were up for less than 30 seconds, but the effect was immediate. Inside Fox, the women who run the network panicked. First, they scolded the producer who put the banner on the screen. Less than 24 hours after that, he resigned. He'd been at Fox for more than a decade. He was considered one of the most capable people in the building. He offered to...
Can you hit me in Discord? Let me see. Ah, there it is. There you go. Now you can. I just had to fix it. So, here we go. Can you guys believe? I just... Shiloh, I agree with you. It's got to be somebody that's awake. There's woke and then there's awake. Just be awake. Never be woke.
Producer who put the banner on the screen. Less than 24 hours after that, he resigned.
Oh, wait.
He'd been at Fox for more than a...
Hold on. This is about the producer now.
Immediate. Inside Fox, the women who run the network panicked. First, they scolded the producer who put the banner on the screen. Less than 24 hours after that, he resigned. He'd been at Fox for more than a decade. He was considered one of the most capable people in the building. He offered to stay for the customary 2 weeks, but Fox told him to clear out his desk and leave immediately. Then the company issued a public apology for the 27-second-long wannabe dictator line. Quote, "The chyron was taken down immediately," Fox's PR department said, and then added ominously it was, quote, "addressed." That was all true, but it was not enough to save Fox News from the ensuing scandal. For a time in the rest of the media, Fox's assessment of Donald Trump's arrest seemed to overshadow Trump's arrest itself.
As if Fox hasn't screwed up enough already. That I can't... Okay, cool.
Suggesting that Biden is a dictator, declared the Washington Post, quote, "crossed the line." Alexander Vindman agreed strongly. Vindman is the perennial MSNBC guest and full-time Ukraine promoter you may remember from Russiagate. On Twitter, he demanded that the Pentagon pull Fox News from all military bases. It is, quote, "absolutely unacceptable for American Forces Network to carry programming that directly, spuriously, attacks the Commander-in-Chief of American Armed Forces," Vindman wrote. In other words, Joe Biden must ban all criticism of himself because that's what non-dictators do. John Cusack went further still. "For the crime of calling Biden a dictator, Fox should be shut down," wrote the 80s era movie star. Quote, "the government has to take away their broadcasting license," and so on. It was all over the internet. Democrats were very, very angry. But why were they angry? If the banner on Fox was false, why the hysteria?
Exactly.
Lies don't seem to bother anyone anymore. If some cable news producer had called Joe Biden a genius or accused him of being secretly Sudanese, would anyone be yelling about it? Would Fox News have apologized for it? Probably not. But calling Joe Biden a wannabe dictator, that stung. So you've got to wonder, if you're being honest with yourself, is Joe Biden a wannabe dictator?
Of course.
That question came up yesterday at the White House briefing. Here's how it went.
Last night, Fox News ran a chyron that referred to the president as a wannabe dictator, and I'm wondering if the White House has any comment on that.
So look, there are probably about 787 million things that I can say about this that was wrong about what we saw last night, but I don't think I'm going to get into it.
There's no comment the White House has on.
I think I just commented.
Oh, no comment necessary. Of course Joe Biden's not a wannabe dictator. Just because he's trying to put the other candidate in prison for the rest of his life for a crime he himself committed doesn't mean he has a totalitarian impulse. Come on, that's absurd. It takes...
All right, get ready for some freaking bam bam truth bombs. Woo-hoo-hoo, this is going to be good.
It's a lot more than jailing your political rivals to earn the title wannabe dictator. That's the consensus in Washington tonight. And in some ways, for once, the consensus may be right. It is not a small thing to be a wannabe dictator. It's quite a process. There are a lot of steps. First off, there is the money. The one thing that all dictators have in common is they enrich themselves and their families, their tribe, even as the countries they govern grow steadily poorer and more desperate. They take kickbacks from businesses and from other dictators. They use the official functions of their government to funnel cash to themselves. They don't bother to hide the fruits of this. They live in garish mansions with big lawns, far from the teeming cities, even as their own citizens languish in growing poverty, in some cases literally living in tents on the street. So they don't really hide it, it's all pretty blatant. And ordinary people resent it. Of course they do, and wannabe dictators know they resent it, but they don't care. There's nothing the population can do about it in a dictatorship. It's no longer possible to fight injustice in a system like that. People can't gather in large numbers to protest the rule of the dictator. If they try that, they'll be arrested.
Agreed, bored at work. Completely agree. I'm still laughing about the garish mansions.
There's nothing the population can do about it in a dictatorship. It's no longer possible to fight injustice in a system like that. People can't gather in large numbers to protest the rule of the dictator. If they try that, they'll be arrested by his state security services, even years after the fact. A visit from men in body armor at the breakfast table. That happens. And if citizens persist in believing...
I love how he is doing this. I just love it. I just
they
love
can
it.
gather in groups to protest, they may be shot to death, a bullet to the throat. And then, just to make the humiliation complete, to make the lesson gin clear to everyone else watching, their relatives can be arrested for daring to complain that their children were killed for complaining. That actually happens in some places. Ask Ashley Babbitt's mother. Here she is in handcuffs.
You murdered her inside the Capitol, now you're going to arrest her? Come out of there.
101, have a transport response.
So don't be like Ashley Babbitt's mother, much less like poor Ashley Babbitt. She's dead now. That's the message a wannabe dictator would send. And by the way, it's not just public protest that would be banned in a dictatorship. You wouldn't be allowed to complain from your own home. Unauthorized opinions expressed on the internet would be censored. Go too far, press too deep, tell too much truth, and they'll just erase your opinions. They have no choice, really. It's a matter, as they say, of trust and safety.
Notice, oh, I'm not going to say it because it might jinx myself.
You must trust the leader, or else you will jeopardize his safety. Not that you really can jeopardize his safety at this point. The leader has nuclear weapons, and you don't. He'll remind you of that from time to time. And in any case, you're in the process of being disarmed anyway, along with everyone else who has shown questionable loyalty to the leader. Those who support the regime can keep their weapons and use them freely, including on public transportation. That's a core civil right for them. But for those who dissent from the program, self-defense is an unaffordable privilege. Turn in your guns, Mr. and Mrs. Peaceful Opposition. You're a danger to society, and we know who you are. And in fact, the wannabe dictator does know who they are because he knows everything. Technology has made him all-seeing. A report in Wired magazine just this week revealed that the highly non-dictatorial Biden administration is busy tracking the phones of millions of Americans without their knowledge and without bothering to get a warrant. And at the same time, the same non-dictatorial administration is stockpiling a massive trove of damaging information about these same Americans, to be used at some point, we are sure, for entirely noble purposes. So the administration now knows everything: where you spend your days, who you talk to, what you think, your porn habits. Not a big deal. The administration already knows what you buy, of course, because they've leaned on the big banks to turn over your confidential credit card information. Not because anyone here is a wannabe dictator, to be clear, but just because. It's nice to have that information, just in case, in the words of the Fox News PR department, a situation arises that needs to be, quote, addressed. It's all totally normal. It's not a dictatorship, okay? But in the end, the main reason you know Joe Biden is not a wannabe dictator is because he just does not fit the profile as a man. Dictators have that look. You know one when you see one. Dictators build cults of personality around themselves, and they use those cults to deny the glaringly obvious. In his later years, to name just one example, North Korean dictator Kim Il-sung developed an enormous baseball-sized tumor on the back of his neck. It was huge. It was grotesque. It was right there. You couldn't ignore it. You couldn't possibly not see it. But in North Korea, state media did ignore it. They pretended it didn't exist. And so, in some important sense, it didn't. If a tumor grows on a neck, but no one acknowledges it, is it really there? Thankfully, nothing like that is happening in our country or ever will. If Joe Biden ever developed some profound physical or medical problem that was obvious to everybody, journalists would say something. This is not North Korea. We don't have state media here. If Joe Biden was, say, incapable of completing a full sentence, or mistook his sister for his wife, or suddenly started falling down in public for no reason, the New York Times would report on that and then get to the bottom of what was actually happening. That would be its duty in a free country like ours. It's not like they would cover it up. The very idea of a cover-up sounds like a conspiracy theory, a dangerous one, actually, so stop it. And by the way, if Joe Biden was...
I need to hear it. So stop it. He said that. Oh, the sarcasm is strong with this one.
On that, and then get to the bottom of what was actually happening. That would be its duty in a free country like ours. It's not like they would cover it up. The very idea of a cover-up sounds like a conspiracy theory, a dangerous one, actually, so stop it. And by the way, if Joe Biden was a wannabe dictator, he'd have the family to match. All dictators do. Saddam Hussein had Uday and Qusay. They were princelings who lived above the law, indulging their most decadent fantasies with total confidence they would be never held to account by the police. As the sons of a dictator, they knew they could do exactly what they wanted. And so that's what they did. There's no one like that around Joe Biden.
This is so
He doesn't have
awesome.
weird sex scandals at the heart of his family that no one in the media will ever talk about. He doesn't have a ne'er-do-well former nightclub-owning brother who's made a living for 30 years by being related to him. Not at all. That's dictator stuff. Joe Biden doesn't award ridiculous inflated titles to his relatives that the media are then required to take seriously. He doesn't call people doctor who didn't go to medical school and then force you to nod along like it's real when everyone knows it isn't. Nicolae Ceausescu did that with his wife Elena. Joe Biden would never do that. Nor does Joe Biden dress like a dictator. He doesn't do photo ops in mirrored sunglasses driving a sports car to convince you that he isn't frail and senile, but instead powerful, virile, and wise. That's just not his style. If Joe Biden was a dictator, he'd be wearing epaulets and carrying a tasseled riding crop, and he isn't yet. So calm down.
Notice he said yet.
If he was a dictator, Biden's speeches would look like Nuremberg rallies. A blood-red backdrop, armed soldiers by his side, screaming about crushing his eternal enemies. Honestly, Biden did come close to that one time last September at a speech in Philadelphia. But it wasn't in any sense dictatory. It was necessary. As MSNBC assured us at the time, quote, Biden aimed to showcase his faith in the military apparatus and its ability to back the democratic order. See, it was about democracy, not dictatorship. No cause for alarm. He is not a dictator. A dictator would stockpile ammunition for his own bureaucrats, including his tax collectors. He'd redefine the legal code to make disloyalty to the regime the most serious crime. He'd claim dominion over the most intimate parts of his citizens' lives. He defined what attitudes they were allowed to have about sex and religion and how to raise their families. He would even, in his final grandiose stage of dictatorship, claim ownership of their children. And Joe Biden wouldn't do that. And to prove he would never do that, Biden just this week released this video.
These are our kids. These are our neighbors. Not somebody else's kids, they're all our kids. And our children are the kite strings that hold our national ambitions aloft. It matters a great deal how we treat everyone in this country. LGBTQ Americans, especially children, you're loved, you're heard, and this administration has your back.
See? Joe Biden isn't saying your children belong to him like a dictator would. He's saying something very different from that. He's saying America's children are, quote, our children. Not his alone, ours. You share your children with Joe Biden evenly, right down the middle, with alternating weekends. You've got joint custody with Joe Biden, and you can thank heaven that you do. A nation is like a family. Every family has a head, a father. That's Joe Biden, our nation's father. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is now his fatherland. Just don't call it a dictatorship, or we'll have to issue a statement disavowing you.
You'll hear people say the news is full of lies.
Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. All right, I'm going to go in chat here. I'm going to get that thing you linked. But just the way he did that, awesome. It's just the whole thing. It's honestly, it's good seeing it. Yeah, go to the site, damn it. Okay, so here's what I found. I'm just curious, why in the hell are people from Ukraine going to frickin' Idaho? What are they going to Idaho for? Ooh, they're going to open a new welcome center in Nampa. Did I say that right? Nampa? I'm going to go further into this. Our local resources are prepared to receive the Ukrainian people. Prepare to receive them. The hell are they? Like they're freaking monarchs or something? That you're receiving them. Oh my gosh. You're going to roll out the red fin carpet too? The housing and documentation areas exist to provide temporary shelter to the refugees in the Nampa Center itself or elsewhere while they go through the documentation process. You mean illegal? Just like everybody else coming through the southern border that doesn't exist. The goal is to help them find jobs and move into permanent housing. How's about you help veterans find jobs? Help veterans move into permanent housing. That would be friggin' awesome. Just saying. We realized that this building was empty, so we could easily turn it over to the Alliance. Wow. This is... What the heck? Oh. That was there, Shiloh? I saw that. Oh my gosh. He said it, but didn't he have it on a shirt too? No, she's not kidding. I saw it too, Queenie. I just didn't realize that's where it was. Wow. This shit is insane. Ah, we're in it for the long haul. Who's this Roscoe? Who's Roscoe? Who the hell is Roscoe? Reverend Bill Roscoe, President and CEO of the Boise Rescue Mission. What? We're in it for the long haul. We don't know how long this is gonna be. We don't know how long this is going to be. We don't know how long the war's going to go on, or how people will be staying in the States. They shouldn't be staying in the States at all. Unless they came over legally. Which I don't. As long as the need is there, the need is present, the rescue mission will be alongside the Alliance in service to the Ukrainian people and ultimately in service to God. Oh, look. IdahoForUkraine.org didn't come up. Let's see if I can fix it. It's linked in that Shiloh, wow. There's a natural spring river, usually temperate, that unexpectedly heated to boiling? Oh my gosh. That's just... wow. Ay, ay, ay. I just speechless. That's insane. It's gotta be volcanic action that's got the water turning to boiling, I would assume. What else could do that to a natural spring river, you know? It just doesn't make any sense. The itchy face, the itchy eyes. Water. I did better today. Oh, I did better today. Oh, the magma base for Yosemite. Okay, that makes sense. That makes complete sense. Wow. I've been watching a lot of stuff on all the stuff that's going on at Yellowstone and all the volcanic stuff. Wow. No. What's Dutch sense? And I'm annoyed my chat thing isn't up. Why? Well, I'm not going to mess with it now, though, because knowing me, I'll screw it up. But is that somebody I can find on YouTube? Oh, Old Faithful. I thought that was Yellowstone. Same here, Queenie. I love animals more than people. Very few people, I should say. Dutch reports on earthquakes. Okay. I wrote it down. By the way, is anybody in here not giving me a number yet? Queenie, I've got you for 12, 17 for Papa, 3 for Kristen, 4 for Aggie, 6 for DK, 8 for and then that's for, yeah, and I got comicses. Anybody want to give me a number since we're here? Because I still have those videos too. I still have those videos. The 2 videos that I'm going to give away. The number is for... Hold that thought. Pen, relax me. I am going to give away this. I have 2 of these. Sorry, there, now you can see it. I'll put the camera back in a second. There, now you can see it. So if you give me a number, this is, I have 2 of these. So you can't use 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, or 17. Other than that, dang, Papa, that's awesome! Congratulations! Man, I remember when I hit 100. Woo! You remember, I was over the freaking moon, and then I was like, no, 100 is not, But it was awesome. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these, at 350. When I hit 350. Queenie is the link master. But at 350, I'm going to give those away. Or should I do it at 4? Yeah, Papa has a really good outdoors channel. 101. Nice. Papa's got a really good outdoors channel. And he's got, everything from bow hunting and target practice and how you zero in the bow, and he showed how to do, what is that? With the friction, what is that fire method? Friction with the bow and the stick and the, what's it called, Papa? I forgot. But it's an awesome video, or it's an awesome channel, and I like the stuff that, like when he found those deadfalls in the Boy Scout 101, pretty much, except on a bigger scale. That's awesome, Papa. That's awesome. Congratulations. I'm so happy. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you, Queenie. I only have Twitter. I don't do Instagram or the communist TikTok or anything like that. I don't do those. Instagram. I don't do, what's the other one with the pictures? Not Instagram, but Pinterest. I don't do that either, but that's not a thing, I don't think. I gotta show it off again. Love it. Love it. So awesome. No, between 1 and 20. I don't have 1 and 20. Just don't use 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, or 17. Unless you want to pick 2. You want to pick 2? Would you wait a minute? Okay, 2. Shallow. Okay. So, let me get bow drill friction fire. Okay, I had bow friction. Bleh. I had bow and friction fire in there. I just forgot the drill. So, I was right. Almost. I almost didn't forget it. Pen, enough with the bells, dude! Somebody's got to go out. And she's bashing on those. Okay, that's awesome, Queenie. I'll pop it to you in, Oh, Shiloh. My property taxes already took a big hike. I went from the taxable valuation of my house was at 168,000 and now it's at 407. So yeah, it more than doubled. My property taxes, that is. Real not happy. Really not happy, rather. Okay, so... Oh, cool. Alright. Then I did get it right. I'm so glad I remembered that. I still like... Shiloh called it, though. Boy Scout 101. That's great. Oh, don't you start to. Come on, man. Ugh. Ever since Joe Biden has started out with the command man, I keep saying it myself, and it's driving me up a wall. What? Don't you bark. Well, on that note, it's 7. I'm gonna... Like clockwork. Like clockwork. Can you believe this crap? You don't even know how to tell time. Come here. Come here. What are you doing? What are you doing? You guys, he's got these little gray eyebrows now. Oh, it's Duke. It's Duke. Penny's the one that's ringing the bells in the other room. Because I hang a thing of... Oh, garden needs watering. I get you. Alright. You win. Ground crew, I love you guys. You're awesome. Thank you for spending just a... That was Duke. Thank you for just spending some time here with me. Hanging out. Time is the most precious, valuable commodity anybody can have. And that y'all spent time here, whether it's now or later or whenever, thank you. I really appreciate it. And if you want to get in on the giveaway for this, try and get it so that you can see it. There you go. Now that the light's not smashing on it. Queenie who? Duke? Are you talking about Duke? Oh, this dog is overflowing with personality. I mean, I've had him so long. He was smaller than his head is now, just so you know. But gonna go. Gotta give Penny her meds. Plus, she was slamming the bells out there. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but I could. And then Mr. Knuckles over here, or Knucklehead. Knuckles. The hell? I love you guys. I will see you on the next one. And thank you very much for spending time with me. Because it's pretty damn awesome that you spent a little time with little old me. I appreciate it. And it is not overlooked at all.